Good afternoon, everybody on whatever platform you happen to be watching this on. Instagram is allegedly telling my followers that I have started a live stream. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out in the comments section. I'm gonna get my pinned comment up here. Hope everybody's having a good afternoon. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little about of course, we're gonna talk about the Kyrie thing. A little bit more from a different angle, though. I talked about that yesterday. We're gonna talk about it from a different angle here today, because there's a deeper thing that needs to be understood about this whole thing for everybody. Everybody needs to understand the deeper thing about this whole situation, because it goes to a much bigger topic, a much bigger issue that it appears actually it's clear to me that a lot of people don't quite understand. So for those of you who don't know me, getting right into it, my name is Dre Baldwin, former 9-year pro athlete, and author of 33 books. I created this whole brand called Work on Your Game. I've done 4 TED Talks, and this whole brand is all about extracting what I took from the professional sports world, and I've translated it to the business world and into everyday life. And I was talking about this on my story earlier today. So y'all saw, if you're following me on IG or you follow me on Facebook or on YouTube, I've done video on YouTube, a long post on Facebook, and I did a post that said I got a poor connection. All right, everybody got me? We still in here? Can y'all hear me? People let me know if y'all listen to me right now. Y'all can hear my voice. They said I had a poor connection. This seems to happen when I'm talking about certain topics. All of a sudden, my connection is poor. Wi-Fi ain't changed. But anyway, here's the thing that I want y'all to understand, because I've talked about this Kyrie thing from different angles, is that, all right, we've already addressed everything that needs to be addressed as far as the specific situation, and some people trying to move the goalposts and make it about Jewish hate or harm or any of that bullshit. This has nothing to do with Jewish people at all. This ain't got nothing to do with Jewish people. Let's say Kyrie had posted a documentary about trans people, or he had posted something about what's another group? I guess it couldn't be black people because he's black, but any other group. Let's say he had posted something about women or something like that. The same thing would have been happening. They're just using the Jewish thing as an excuse. This has nothing to do with Jewish people at all. So if you're a Jewish person or a defender of Jewish people or an advocate for Jewish people, this ain't about you. And this ain't about Jewish people at all. This is about a much bigger thing that they wanted to get at Kyrie over the COVID thing, and now they found a convenient excuse to get at him, and they got at him. That's really what this is about, and it's really about Kyrie as a black man. And I'm not a dude to play the race card at all. Any of you know my work, you know, because I will call black people out. I will call black people out. I will call the black community out. I will hold black people accountable. And if you know my work, you know. If you know my work, you know. Check my receipts, you know. So I'm not some dude playing a race card. I am not a race hustler. I'm not a fan of race hustlers. I'm not a fan of anybody who goes and pulls every time they talking to black people, they go back 200 years and know, oh, this came from slavery and redlining, and we condone prop and all that bullshit that some of these race hustlers try to throw out to try to emotionalize you. And every argument they make got to go back 200 years and then try to draw it back to today. I ain't into none of that shit. None of it. However, this one right here, this is about them showing you, especially those of you who are black, but it's for everybody, that look, you get out of line. Look what we did to this dude who has money and status and a platform and power. We'll do it to you. We can do it to him. What can we do to you who's making 50K a year? This dude's making Kyrie's contract. It was last year of his contract. They keep talking about it. That's how the number's like 30 something that he's making this year. So if we could do it to a dude who's making 30 something million, what can we do to you who's making 55,000? All right, you happen to go, if you want to go against the grain, you want to step out of line. That's what this is really about. And that's what gets into this point that I want to talk about. You had a mindset of a worker or the mindset of a boss. And when I say worker or a boss, I'm not talking about what you do for a living. I'm not talking about how you get paid. I'm not talking about if you get a W-9 or a W-2 or a 1099. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, what is your mentality? Do you have a mentality of a worker, or do you have a mentality of a boss? That's what this conversation is about, mentality. And understand, folks, when people talk about freedom, you ever hear anybody who talks about money or business, they might talk about something like financial freedom. Yeah, all of you have heard that phrase getting used, right? People throw that phrase out. Financial freedom was a good thing to go after. I want y'all to understand something. You can't be financially free till you're mentally free. If you are not mentally free, you will never be financially free, no matter how much money you make. Let me give you a prime example. Kyrie Irving plays in the NBA. Right now, Kyrie Irving has a contract this year that I believe is for something like uh, 30, 30 something grand or whatever he's making this year. It doesn't matter the exact amount. We know it's a lot of money and it's in the millions. We do know that, right? So I'm gonna find out what the average NBA salary is because it's a good amount of money. The average NBA salary this season, this year, right now, the average NBA salary is $9,662,447 based on 453 player signings. It was excludes 10-day contracts. The highest salary is 48 million for Steph Curry, and nine players, only nine players get the league minimum. The league minimum is over $1 million. Okay, 64 players earn $20 million or more. This is all from GAIMDAY GameDay.com. Okay, and the minimum salary in the NBA this in June said 900,000. Either way, is a lot of money. All right, we can all agree to that. It's a lot of money. It's close to $1 million or more. The minimum salary in the NBA, the average salary is $9 million. Now, here's the part that I want y'all to get. Follow everything I'm going to say here. Kyrie Irving makes like 30 something $1 million. He makes a lot. He's in the upper echelon of getting paid in the NBA. The average salary in the league is $9 million. The minimum salary is $1 million. So all these guys are, I think, effectively, most people would call NBA players rich. All right, if you make $1 million a year, I think most people will call you rich. Even though rich is not really a matter of dollar amount, that's not really how you measure rich. Rich is more a matter of how long can you maintain a lifestyle, not about how much money you make. But that's neither here nor there. Let's just say that we could say most NBA players are well paid. All right, they make a good amount of money. Let's just say that. Now, how is it that a whole bunch of men, 450 men, who all make $1 million a year, this one man gets called out for expressing his First Amendment right to free speech, regardless of what he said in his free speech, regardless of what he said in the speech? He exercises his right of free speech. Some people disagree with his free speech. Are you telling me, just by law of probability, just by being a reasonable connection again? Now, my connection, they said I got paused for poor connection again. Y'all noticing this is happening only on certain topics, right? So here's the thing that happens now. Here's my question. How is it possible that 449 people, because we got to take Kyrie out, right? 449 people, not one of them believes that Kyrie's free speech is being violated here by the way that they're going at him? You telling me not one NBA player out of 450 of them, not one of them believes that Kyrie actually had a right to post that link to that documentary, even if they think the documentary is complete garbage, even if you think everything in the documentary is garbage. Again, we're not arguing the topic of the documentary. It doesn't matter what the documentary said because it's been out. That documentary has been out since 2018. If anybody has a problem with the documentary, your problem ain't Kyrie Irving because he didn't make the documentary. Why you ain't going at the people who made the documentary? Their name is on it. The person who made the documentary, his name is on the documentary. I'm going to look up the documentary. I was looking this up the other day. I forget the name of the person who made it, but it's right there on there. So if somebody really has a problem with the documentary, why you ain't going at the guy who made the documentary? All right, Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. The director of the documentary is a guy named Ronald Dalton Jr. His name is right here on Amazon. Ronald Dalton Jr. is right here on Amazon. So if you really have a problem with his documentary, he got documentaries about the message of ministries. He talks about the age of awakening. He got a documentary about Hitler. He talks about Hebrew by nature. So this guy is a believer that maybe this isn't all his stuff, but yeah, it's all under his name, Ronald Dalton Jr. And y'all got a problem with that documentary that Kyrie posted? Why you ain't going at Ronald Dalton Jr.? His name's right here. Everybody can find it. All y'all got Amazon, right? Anybody here don't got Amazon? Everybody got Amazon. Why y'all ain't going at this man? It's on Amazon. Everybody know where Amazon's at, right? Why ain't nobody going at Amazon? So anybody who's going at Kyrie and talking about this Jewish thing and the Jewish hate and anti-Semitism, all of y'all are full of shit if you're doing that because he ain't make the documentary. He ain't hosting the documentary. He ain't the one monetizing the documentary. Why don't you go at them? Because you know their names. Everybody know who Jeff Bezos is. Everybody know where Amazon's at. All y'all know how to use the contact us button on Amazon. And everybody can Google this dude, Ronald Dalton Jr. I bet he's easier to get in touch with than Kyrie Irving is. So why ain't y'all going at him? Because that ain't the issue. And people are using that as an excuse. That's just a convenient excuse to go after low-hanging fruit. Going after Kyrie Irving is low-hanging fruit because you can, many people, and the journalists and the media saw this, they could kind of talk Kyrie down. Because Kyrie, his communication skills reached their ceiling. He couldn't articulate anymore his point and his position. So he kind of stopped talking, and that's when they jumped on him, and that's when he got suspended. That's what happened. And again, I said this yesterday in my live. If I was talking to Kyrie Irving and he asked me where I thought he messed up, I would tell him what I just told you. Is that when his communication skills hit their point, their peak, he couldn't go any further. He couldn't articulate or defend himself any further verbally. That's when the media jumped on him, and they are just better at it than he is. That's where he lost his whole. That's where he lost the frame. Doesn't mean he's wrong, but if he asked me where he lost the frame, that's where he lost the frame. But that's not even the point here today. Why did not a single NBA player, all these dudes make $1 million a year at least, average guy makes $9 million a year, why didn't none of them step up to defend him? When I would bet reasonably, let me ask a question. Let me ask a question. Let me stop making assumptions. Let me ask a question. Everybody who's watching this right now, yes or no, do you believe at least one NBA player thinks Kyrie was done wrong in this situation? Do you think there's at least one NBA player who believes Kyrie Irving had a right to post that link, and even if they thought it was garbage, he has a right to post it, and he should not be attacked for doing that? Just tell me yes if you think at least one NBA player doesn't think what happened to Kyrie Irving was right. And if you think every NBA player thinks he was wrong, put a no. They got to be at least one player in the NBA who thinks that what they did to Kyrie was wrong. Okay, so a bunch of y'all are saying yeah. Everybody's saying yes. So here's my question. Why didn't nobody say nothing? If they all believe, if there has to be at least one guy in the NBA, it don't matter who it is, like anybody. They all got Twitter. They all got Instagram. They all got a platform. They all playing games. So after the game, everybody asks them, yo, what do you think about the Kyrie thing? Ain't nobody saying nothing. Why ain't nobody say nothing? So here's my question. Why didn't anybody say anything? They all make $1 million a year. So it's not like they're broke. It's not like these dudes is worrying about where they're how they're going to pay their bills next month. Why didn't nobody say anything? Because it's not like they can't afford to say something. That's my question. I'm going to answer the question, but I want to know if any of you have as a theory as to why they didn't answer the question. Again, we're not talking about some dudes working at, managing the Taco Bell, making 40 grand a year. These dudes make $1 million a year minimum. The worst player on the team makes $1 million a year. Why didn't anybody say anything? These dudes are not broke. They don't need the money. All right. All right. Any of you who's watching this right now, I don't know how much money nobody here makes. If somebody handed you $1 million and you got some good information on how to invest that money, you don't need to work again in your life. So these dudes ain't broke. Why didn't nobody say anything? That's what I'm trying to figure out. All right. So people said they're scared. High price slaves. Back in the day, we would call them house N-words. I'm not going to say that word out loud. I get what you're saying. But here's the thing. And this goes to my point of what I'm talking about here in this live. Workers or bosses? Your favorite NBA players, rappers, I guess the rappers who are making a lot of money, or at least they claim they're making a lot of money, dudes on TV, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Mike Wilbons, the Shannon Sharps, the Jalen Roses, the Chris Broussards. Who's the other guy? Name any one of these black dudes on TV, on ESPN and Fox, who trashed any player who didn't get the jab, like Kyrie. Trash Kyrie when he did this. All those dudes working on TV, those companies are big companies. Those dudes make good money. They might not all be making as much as NBA players, but they ain't broke. Let's put it that way. These dudes ain't broke. Dudes working on TV, even if they're not making as much as NBA players. I'll understand something. These dudes have the mentality of workers. They are effectively workers because they get a paycheck. They have the mentality of workers. Kyrie Irving has the mentality of a boss, and I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by that, as does Kanye West. That's the difference between these two. Shaquille O'Neal, I'm glad you said his name. Shaq is another one. Charles Barkley is another one. These dudes are workers. They have the mentality of workers, and they are effectively at work. They are workers. Now, I know Shaq has businesses outside of working at TNT, but the only reason we still mention Shaq is because he's on TNT. Like his quote-unquote relevance, I don't even like using that word, but the fact that people still talk about Shaq is because he's on that TV show. If he just rode off into the sunset, didn't do TV no more, just ran his businesses, Shaq would still make money. He wouldn't be a worker anymore, but he wouldn't have a voice. He wouldn't be able to talk about stuff. He could talk about stuff because he's on TV. Charles Barkley as well. Now, Charles Barkley, I don't know what he does business-wise outside of working at TNT. Charles Barkley's a worker. These dudes are all workers, and they have worker mentality. This is the part I'm talking about here, is their mentality. Your favorite NBA players, these dudes are workers, and they proved that they're workers because none of them was willing to step up and put whatever they might lose on the line by saying, y'all are doing Kyrie wrong, because all of them would have faced a penalty for doing that. You saw what happened to Kyrie. They would have got a penalty for defending Kyrie. So instead of putting there that penalty, which would have been, maybe they would have got suspended too. It was like Kyrie got suspended without pay. And based on his salary, his suspension is going to cost him $1.2 million. I saw that on ESPN. Kyrie's going to lose $1 million for 5 games. That's just assuming he only misses 5 games. He's going to lose $1 million a bunch of players in the league who don't make as much as him, they would have lost that percentage of their salary. They weren't willing to sacrifice that in exchange for defending Kyrie because they think like workers. This is a worker mindset. Is when you are a slave to a paycheck. This is what I put on Instagram today. A slave to a paycheck means you will do anything to defend that paycheck and protect that paycheck, regardless of how much money it is. See, it's not about a dollar amount. See, a lot of people get this misconstrued. They think it's about a dollar amount. This ain't about a dollar amount. You could be making $1 million a year. You can be making 100,000. You can be making 35,000 a year. When you are a slave to a paycheck, you are a worker. I don't care how you make the money. If you make your money by running a business and you're afraid to say what's real and defend somebody when you see something's going wrong and it's right in front of you, you're a worker. Shaquille O'Neal's a worker. Charles Barkley, worker. Stephen A. Smith, worker. Mike Wilbon, worker. And these dudes like to get on their platforms and talk like they're bosses. They are not bosses. They are workers. Any of you is familiar with a man by the name of Damon Dash? Y'all familiar with Damon Dash? All y'all heard of Damon Dash. I just want to see if all y'all know who I'm talking about when I say Damon Dash. They won't speak because they're afraid. They're being controlled. They're scared. High-priced slaves. Yeah, they want their paycheck. They sign a contract. Contracts have all types of stipulations. Kyrie's contract has a stipulation too. But guess what? He still spoke out. See, that's the point. That's the difference between a worker and a boss. So what you said there, magnificent. I agree with what you're saying. The thing is, how much does that paycheck control you? Because just because you signed a contract that says, well, you can't say this, or we could do something if you say this, doesn't mean you can't say it. You can still say it. What they gonna do? Penalize you? Take away a little bit of your money? Okay, take my money away. Mentality. Again, we're not talking about money. We're talking about mindset. This is what I'm talking about. It starts in the mind, then it goes to the pockets. It doesn't start in the pocket, then go to your mind. No, it starts here, then you get it in your pocket. That's the difference between the two. So brings drama that they don't need. Well, okay, need is a relative term. We know that they don't want it. They paused me to poor connection again. So again, this is what I'm saying. It brings drama that they definitely don't want. We can agree to that. It said they are still employees. Look at Shaq. Yeah, Shaq trashed Kyrie. Charles Barkley did too. They trashed them. They was like tag teaming them. They tag team trashed them. They have a peaceful life. Why get caught in stress and fear? Well, where's the fear coming from, Chris? Chris Jr. B98. Where's the fear come? What are they afraid of? That's the point. Shaquille O'Neal made a lot of money in the league. Shaq had a contract for like $120 million before it was normal to get contracts for $100 million. Shaq had that contract. Shaq got investments. Shaq owns what he got, like Papa John's. He got movie theater. Shaq's done a lot of business diversity in his business. He got a lot of stuff he does business wise that he talks about. I don't go Googling what this dude's doing, but he talks about the stuff that he does business wise. Shaq ain't broke. If Shaq got fired from TNT today, his bills will still be paid. His family will still be taken care of. He can still pay bills for all his kids, all his women, all his baby moms. I don't know how many he got. Everybody's going to be taken care of financially in Shaq's family if he got fired today. He does not need the dollars from TNT. Difference is Shaq has the mindset of a worker. That's the point that I'm making here. It ain't nothing to be afraid of. I don't know what the fear part that you're talking about. There's nothing to be afraid of. All right, Kanye got hung out to dry because again, Kanye has the mindset of a boss. The difference between Kanye and like these NBA guys is that Kanye didn't have a job. Kanye never had no job. He was signed to a contract when he was doing his music and stuff like that. He had to deal with all the companies that dropped him, like Adidas, Balenciaga. Who else is he doing deals with? Everybody who said they don't want to do deals with Kanye no more. It doesn't matter. Kanye owns his business. So yeah, you don't do business with Kanye anymore, but Kanye still owns Kanye. Kanye is a brand that's worth money by itself. So whether he does a deal with Balenciaga or Apple or Adidas, he still can do business. So Kanye has a built-in mindset of boss. These NBA players have built-in mindsets of workers. That playing in the NBA is a job. You're a worker when you play in the NBA. Technically, you are a contractor, but you have the mindset of a worker. So it goes back to what I talked about yesterday. Why don't basketball players just start their own league? They got enough money. How much money did Ice Cube make rapping? I guarantee you it ain't as much as Kyrie makes playing basketball. So how did Ice Cube start a league, but the NBA players can't start a league? And there's only one Ice Cube. There's 450 dudes in the NBA. Most of them black. Most of them always talking this pro-black shit. Why can't they just start a league? They got way more money than Ice Cube had. Why can't they start a league? Here's the reason why they don't start a league. It's not because they ain't got the money. They don't start the league because they have mindsets of workers. These dudes would rather be workers, work for somebody else, and get paid and be comfortable than be their own bosses. That's why they don't start their own league. If the NBA players put their money together, I talked about this yesterday. If they put their money together, it ain't got to be all of them, just a handful of them. They got enough money. They got more than Ice Cube had. He started a league. I don't know how much Ice Cube made rapping, but it ain't as much as NBA players make hooping. How he started a league, they can't start a league. Y'all, some of y'all think about that. Somebody said, didn't Shaq? I heard that. I heard somebody say that, Mr. J, that Shaq was showing that movie. I'm not sure if it's true or not, and maybe it is. The whole point is, though, Shaq's, again, it goes right back to this dude would rather trash Kyrie, and a bunch of black dudes came out and trashed Kyrie. Even CJ McCollum, who's the head of the Players Association for the NBA, he came out after the game last night. This is the first time he said anything. The Players Association didn't even defend Kyrie Irving when their very job is to defend the players. That's their job, is to advocate for the players. He didn't do that. He came out and said, well, it's good that Kyrie apologized. You know, I'm against all anti-Semitism. I'm against all hate. We're about diversity, inclusion, and equity. CJ McCollum, the head of the CJ, he's the head of the Players Association. He said this last night. I'm like, dude, wait, who do you work for? You the head of the Players Association, or you the head of the diversity, equity, and inclusion group? You working for the work? You working for the owners, or you working for the players? Who you working for? That's what I would have said to CJ McCollum. If I'm Kyrie Irving, I'm calling CJ McCollum like, wait, who you represent? Us or them? But this is where they at. These dudes are workers. And all y'all who are familiar with Damon Dash, so other black celebrities who are working in 2020. Yeah, Kyrie was the one who threw out the whole, we just start our own league, but it didn't go even windy out here. Damon Dash is a guy who years back, this is probably like 2015, 2016, he was on the Breakfast Club. Many of you probably saw this interview because it went viral. He was on the Breakfast Club, and he was kind of getting into a heated argument with Charlemagne and DJ Envy. And Damon Dash, he kept saying over and over again, I'm a boss. I'm a boss. I have the mentality of a boss. I think like a boss. And he was telling Charlemagne and DJ Envy, you two dudes are workers. Y'all worked at this radio station. Y'all sit up here and talk all day about what people can do to run a business when you ain't even running a business. You work for someone else for a living. Who the hell are you to tell somebody how to run a business? Damon Dash was telling them that to their faces on the Breakfast Club like 5-6 years ago. Some of y'all remember that interview because the interview went viral. It got like over 1 million views. You look it up. It's one of the most popular interviews to ever come on the Breakfast Club, where he was calling them dudes out to their faces like, yo, y'all ain't qualified to talk about being bosses. Y'all ain't bosses. How you work 9 to 5 for somebody else's company talking about what a boss needs to do? He was telling them that to their faces like, yo, you ain't qualified to tell me how to run a business. You don't run a business. You work here. He told Charlemagne that. He told DJ Envy that. He's like, yo, you been a DJ for 20 years. You still working at a radio station trying to talk about what it means to be a boss. Or who are you? And the whole point is not that Charlemagne and DJ Envy, I don't know what they do personally. I'm not in these dudes' pockets. They probably they have other stuff that they do outside of what they do at the Breakfast Club, but they're known because of what they do at the Breakfast Club. Their quote unquote relevance, that's the word y'all like to use. That's why I keep using it. Their relevance is based on the fact that they're on that Breakfast Club. They ain't got to be on it, but they're on it. So who are you to go talk to somebody about how to run a business when you working for somebody else for a living? And y'all go look up the ownership of the company that owns the Breakfast Club. All right, and it's not Revolt TV. The ownership is iHeartMedia. Go look up the leadership at iHeartMedia. It's a whole bunch of white people. And again, I ain't the one to play the race card, but these dudes, Charlemagne, DJ Envy, these are the dudes who get on there trying to talk all that pro-blackness. They work for a cohort of white people, but they want to talk pro-black, this and that, and try to say somebody is, oh, you're supporting white supremacy or doing this and doing that. Like, yo, you work for a bunch of white people. Who are you? It doesn't make any sense when you really think about the things that they say versus what they're actually doing. It doesn't add up. And this is what Damon Dash was telling them and called them out to their faces. And neither one of them had anything to say about that when it happened. Go watch the interview. It was on YouTube. Damon Dash on the Breakfast Club. Look it up. He went on there twice. The second time he went on there, it was a more calm interview. But the first time he went on there, he called them dudes out and put them in their places. And neither one of them say nothing. And I think Angela Yee was there at that interview. She didn't say nothing. She was quiet the whole time. She didn't say nothing the whole conversation. Somebody said the media will scrutinize them. So what? The media is going to scrutinize you no matter what. And these dudes, again, are workers. They'll swear they're self-made. Well, they're not. I mean, you can't be self-made. You got your money working at a job. That doesn't even add up. I mean, maybe some of them will say that, Skip to Malu, but it ain't true. We know it's not true. So they can start their own league. They have a slave/worker mentality. These dudes are workers. I mean, they can start their own businesses. And the thing is, here's the point. When you have the mentality of a boss, I might have to go inside. It's about to rain. We have the mentality of a boss, folks. You don't mind sacrificing a little bit of let's say, positive energy from your employers if it means standing on what you believe in and what you're about. See, Kyrie Irving sacrificed some money. He just sacrificed some bread. We know he sacrificed money by not taking that jab because he didn't get an extension. We know he sacrificed some money by what he did right now because he got suspended. He's willing to sacrifice some money because what he believes in and what he's about is more important than the money. And these Stephen A. Smiths and the Michael Wilbons and the Jalen Roses and the Shaqs and the Charles Barkley, they ain't got that mentality. They got the mentality of, let me just get the money no matter what. That's the mentality that they have. So they'll say anything that their bosses tell them to say. And they all teamed up and trashed Kyrie Irving when any one of them could have just said, look, this is what Shaq could have said. This is what Chuck or Mike Wilbon could have said. They could have said, look, I don't agree with what's in that documentary. I didn't see the documentary personally, but any one of them could have said, I don't agree with what's in the documentary. Or they could have said, I watched the documentary. I agree with like 30% of it. I disagree with 70% of it. Either way, it doesn't matter what I agree with. Kyrie Irving has the right to post the link to the documentary because it's been out. He didn't make it. He didn't say it. He's just posting the link to it. He has a right to that. That's his right to free speech. And anybody who's trying to go against his right to free speech is wrong because in America, you have a right to free speech. First Amendment gives us all the right to say what we want to say. Even if somebody disagrees with it, you have a right to that. Mike Wilbon could have said that. Stephen A. Smith could have said that. Charles Barkley could have said that. Shaq could have said that. But they all are workers, and they are more connected to being workers and keeping their jobs than they are to being bosses and thinking independently. And you notice how they all try to ridicule this whole free thought thing? They try to ridicule it. Like, oh, Kyrie Irving thinks he's a free thinker. He needs to learn he needs to get educated. Like, that's what all these people are saying. They're ridiculing free thought because they don't know what it feels like to think freely because they're not allowed to think freely. You're not allowed to think freely when you take a paycheck, folks. I talked about this in my material on my podcast some time ago. Those of y'all who are not really familiar with me, like I have a podcast called Working Again. It comes out every day. I've been an entrepreneur since 2010. I played ball till 2015. I was an entrepreneur while I was still playing. And people ask me, Dre, how'd you become an entrepreneur? I became an entrepreneur because somebody introduced me to network marketing in like 2001, 2002. And I went to a couple of the hotel meetings. I didn't stay in network marketing, but I got introduced to this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Many of you, if you haven't read that book, you should read it, even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur. And in that book, Robert Kiyosaki talks about the difference between being an employee and being an owner, about working for money and having money work for you. That's the difference between the two. And one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki said is that when you receive a paycheck every 2 weeks, you are a slave to that paycheck, meaning you must do what that paycheck tells you to do. And as long as you are a slave to a paycheck, you can never be completely free. And that's 100% true. That's the same thing Damon Dash was saying on the Breakfast Club. It's the same thing that the brother, I was watching the video of Boyce Watkins. Y'all familiar with Boyce Watkins? He was talking about the Kyrie situation. In his video, he talked about that. Like, when you don't have financial freedom, you can't say what you want to say. You can't think how you want to think. You can't do what you want to do when you don't have financial freedom because you are controlled by that paycheck. And that's why nobody defended Kyrie Irving, because they're all controlled by the paycheck. Not because they don't believe that Kyrie has a right to free speech. Not because they don't have the words to put it out if they wanted to. It's because they're slaves to their paycheck. They don't have financial freedom, even though they have a bunch of money. See, these dudes make $5 million a year and don't have financial freedom. How is that possible? How can you make $5 million a year? NBA average salary is $9 million a year. How can the average salary be $9 million a year and you don't have financial freedom? Here's why, folks. Financial freedom is not about your income. A lot of you think is about your income. It's not about your income. Financial freedom starts with how you think about yourself and how you think about how you can make money. It starts with your assets, not your income, your assets. Those are two different things. Now, technically, your income can be an asset. Technically, it can be. But your assets are what are the things that will allow you to maintain your lifestyle if you lost your income. And if you don't have those assets, and the biggest asset is your mind, if you don't have this asset right here, doesn't matter how big your weekly paycheck is, your bi-weekly paycheck is, because you don't have an alternative to make money if you lost it. That's why NBA players didn't defend Kyrie Irving. Because if one of them defended him and they lost that paycheck, they have no mental assets to replace that paycheck. Kyrie Irving I believe that he believes he has the mental assets to still make money even if he lost the NBA paycheck. That's why he was willing to sacrifice what he didn't get by not getting that jab and by taking the suspension that he just took. He is not a slave to his paycheck, even though he might have a whole lot of money saved up because he's made a lot of money. He's had big contracts in the league. But listen, again, if you was making $2 million a year in the league, you made $2 million a year for 4 years. That's $8 million pre-tax. Let's cut that in half. You got 4. Let's cut that in half. You got 2. All right, for your salary, you took care of your family. You bought your mom a house. You bought your friends a car. You got $2 million invested the right way. You ain't got to work no more. I mean, somebody tell me I'm wrong. And this dude's he's making 30. Average salary is 9. I'm talking about somebody making 2. Again, and look at the sports dudes. These sportscaster dudes. Charles Barkley been on TV for 20 years. Multiply that by $1 million a year. Again, Stephen A. Smith, how long he been on TV? Mike Wilbon, how long he been on TV? How long these dudes been in radio? These dudes been out, and they played in the league before that. Check played in the league. Charles and Shaq played in the league for 15 years before they got on TV. They was making money in the league, and they making money on TV. All right, do they actually need that income? Technically, I can't say whether they need it or not, but you get what I'm saying here. These dudes are mental slaves. Mentally, they are workers, which means if they lost that ability to be workers and get paid from being workers, they don't have an alternative. At least they don't believe they have an alternative. They actually do, but they don't believe they do. That's why they're slaves to the paycheck. And there's a big difference between being a worker and being a boss. Kyrie Irving has the mindset of a boss, even though he is technically a worker. And there are people out there who are technically bosses who have the mindsets of workers. They usually don't last long in the entrepreneurial world. This is where it really comes to. This is what it really comes to. So let's see. Yeah, you're right. Buy and sell Stevens, you're right. Mr. J says, anyone even understand anti-Semitism? And the thing about the anti-Semitism is Kyrie didn't say this in so many words. I guess I don't know why he didn't say it. He might as well have because he was going to get suspended anyway. But according to that documentary makes many claims, but one of them is that black people are the real Jews. So Kyrie Irving could have just said, listen, I believe that black people are the real Jews. Therefore, I can't be anti-Semite because that means I'm anti-myself. He could have said that. Why not? That's what Kanye West said. He might as well have said it. I mean, he was going to get suspended anyway. He had nothing to lose. Kyrie didn't say that. I don't know why he didn't say it. He might as well. Like I said, he should have said it. But people are talking about you're anti-Semite because you're questioning the origin of Jewish people. Well, so what? What's wrong with questioning the origin of Jewish people? It's a story. It's a story. History is nothing but a story. So if I question a story, I'm wrong, but you're right. Because you believe one story, I believe a different story. How is your story right and my story's wrong? Based on what? Who's the judge? Again, these are all things that Kyrie Irving should have said, but he did not say. I don't think Kyrie Irving had the language to say these things, but I wish he had said these things. Because all of these things would be true. Let's see. And you say he's suspended indefinitely. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens after this 5 games. I think they already played 2. So we'll see what happens in these next few games. So bashing another black man doing it in Boston. Yeah, they bashed Kyrie Irving. And it ain't even so much about the fact that they're black, because again, I don't like to play the race card thing, but these guys all was on that pro-blackness in the summer of 2020. They was all on this black this and black that. Okay, if it's all black this, why are you bashing a black dude on behalf of a white guy? It was all about pro-blackness. I mean, if that's what you want to play, again, Charles, Shaq, Mike Wilbon, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith was just playing a race card last week talking about he's underpaid. How you underpaid when you agreed to the contract? That makes no sense. So that just makes you stupid. You agreed to a contract, now you complain about it. What, less than a year later? Anyway, these dudes talk all this pro-blackness, and then when there's a chance to defend a black man using his First Amendment rights, first thing they do is go bash him on behalf of some white guy defending Jewish people. When did black people start defending Jewish people? I didn't know this was a thing. Yes, and Dr. Boyce, his point about Kyrie, if y'all go watch his video about Kyrie, he made a very good point. So it said, because they're expensive and equivalent to the regular persons. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, let's see. So that's your point, right? Ain't it just like the Christopher Columbus story? Exactly, Mr. J, you're right. Just like the Christopher Columbus stories, right? So we were taught in school growing up, Christopher Columbus discovered America. Now, people done thrown that out, right? Now nobody even wants to celebrate. We don't even call it Columbus Day no more, right? Now the new thing, they call it Indigenous Peoples Day. They changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day. What is that? That is a questioning of history. The story was Christopher Columbus discovered this land called America. Now they changed the story to no, it's not. We're not going to honor Christopher Columbus anymore. We're going to honor indigenous people on the exact same day. It's still a holiday, but we're going to change who we honor. It's not Christopher Columbus. It's indigenous people. What did they do? They questioned history and said, we're going to change the narrative of this story, and nobody got canceled for that. Nobody got attacked for that. So how is Kyrie Irving wrong for questioning by posting a documentary that questions history? All he did was question the story. Don't they got this thing called the 1619 Project, which says what? 1619 Project says America did not start in 1776 when we had the revolution. No, it started in 1619 when they started bringing slaves to America. So that's the pro-black version of questioning the story of America. That's okay, but as he questions who is actually Jewish and who's not, now he's wrong. Now you're wrong for questioning that. But if you question when America started, you question Christopher Columbus, you're good. You're diversity, equity, and inclusion. But if you question Jewish people, you question who's Jew, and you question when America started, you're wrong. How is your story right, but my story's wrong? That doesn't make any sense. Again, all stories can be questioned. I don't agree with the 1619 Project. I don't agree with saying that we should change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day because, listen, Christopher Columbus still spread the news that this country was here. Whether you agree with what he did or not, whether you think he's a bad guy or not, the only reason we know about America is because Christopher Columbus let everybody else know, yo, is land over here. He's the one who went on that sail, that voyage, and said, yo, is land over here. Yeah, there were people here already, but those people who were here already didn't say to people in Europe, yo, is land over here. Because we wouldn't be here if Christopher Columbus didn't put the news out. That's just a fact. So we can still give him respect for that. Even if you don't like anything else about him, you can give him respect for that. That's just where I stand on Christopher Columbus. But that's not even the point. Is that if you want to question history, question history. History is made to be questioned. This is a fucking story. I can question any story you tell me. If I didn't see it with my own two eyes and you didn't see it with your own two eyes, I got a right to question your story. You got a right to question my story. And that doesn't make me right or wrong. It doesn't make you right or wrong. Any critical thinker can understand this. Problem is we ain't got too many critical thinkers out there. Somebody said, like Christopher Columbus, thanks for emphasizing ownership. Yes, ownership is the key. And it's ownership of your mind first. Said, I'm a freelancer still trying to become a boss. Wish I come to work on your game live. David, I'm glad you made this comment. First of all, being a boss starts in your mind, David. It's not about what you do for a living. It's not about how you make your money. And it's not even about how much money you make. It ain't about none of those. Being a boss is your mindset, David. This is very important. I'm glad you made this comment. So don't take this. I'm not personally attacking you, but I'm going at what you said here because I think many people think the way of what you said, and I want to make sure you understand this. And I talked about this in my story earlier today. So if you look at my IG story, you'll see this. I read Robert Kiyosaki when I was in college. Now, I knew when I got out of college, I wanted to go play basketball first. And then when I read that book, I said, I'm going to be a business person. I'm not going to be a worker. I'm not going to go get a job because I looked at the adults around me growing up, my own parents. I love my parents, respect my parents. They laid a great foundation for me. But my parents were workers. They talked about work like it was a necessary evil. They never seemed excited to go to work. They were always at work. And despite the fact they were always at work, they never had no money. So I said, I don't want to do this because this doesn't look like a good equation to me. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish college. I'm going to go play ball, and I'm going to figure out this entrepreneurship thing because at least it gives me an opportunity to maybe write my own check instead of doing what I see the adults around me doing because they don't look happy or satisfied or taken care of with what they're doing. Like how you work all the time and still ain't got no money. It didn't make no sense to me. So I don't want to do what they were doing. So here's what I did instead. Mentally, check this out, David, and everybody else. Mentally, I became a boss when I was still in college. I was a broke college student playing basketball, y'all went to college, eating ramen noodles, Little Caesars pizza, fish sticks. Y'all know how it is in college. I ain't had no money. I ain't have a job. I wasn't doing nothing in college. But I had the mindset of a boss when I was still in college. Then I started playing ball. Then I started getting on the internet when the internet became a thing. Social media became a thing. And I became a boss in my mind before I was a boss in fact. That's where it starts. Frederick Douglass. Y'all haven't read it like the fifth time during this live. Y'all figured out why that is. Frederick Douglass, his autobiography, he said this. There was a point where I was still a slave in fact, but I was a free man in my mind. That's what I want you to get. So, David, everybody else, you become a free man in your mind. You become a boss in your mind first. Then you become a boss on paper. Being a boss is not about you got to have an office or you got to make X number of dollars. You got to have people working for you or you got to drive a certain kind of car. Or you got to get a certain number of followers on social media. That's not what a boss is. That's the internet version of a boss. A real boss is in your mind. Go listen to Damon Dash. Go listen to some Dame Dash interviews. Any one of them, no matter, because he says the same thing in every interview. He comes back to it in every interview. Any interview you see Dame Dash doing, go listen to him talk about being a boss, because he says it every single time he talks. And that is the mindset. That is the first thing, is the mindset. Then you can get to, then you go listen to somebody like Dr. Boyce Watkins. He talks about the technical side of being a boss and getting the assets in place, like the logical side. Dame Dash is talking about the emotional, mental side. I'm talking about a combination of both. All right, so go listen to Dr. Boyce. Go listen to Dame Dash. They're both talking about the same thing. Listen to Grant Cardone. Even though he's white, you listen to Grant Cardone. He talks about it as well. Listen to Robert Kiyosaki. He's Asian. He talks about it. Like, y'all got to get this. Y'all got to get this information from the right sources. Don't get your information from fucking Stephen A. Smith and Mike Wilbon. These dudes are workers. If you want to be a worker, listen to workers. You want to be a boss, listen to bosses. Those guys I just name dropped, Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone, Boyce Watkins, Dame Dash, myself, we got the mindset of bosses. This ain't got nothing to do with money. You can take all the money away from everybody I just mentioned, they'll still be bosses, because boss is up here, folks. Boss is in your mind, not in your pocket. It's in your mind first. Then you get it in your pocket. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again, because a lot of people don't understand that. And if you go to school, they teach you how to be a worker. School teaches you how to be a worker. All right. Any of you who's in school right now, next time you go to class, I'm recording this on a Sunday, whenever y'all watching this. You go to class on Monday, look at your professors. They ain't bosses, they workers. And I know college professors. I know people who are teachers, good people who I love and trust. They're not bosses, they're workers. They can't tell me how to be a boss, because they ain't bosses, they're workers. A worker can't tell you how to be a boss. Now, some bosses can tell you how to be a worker, because many bosses were workers. I've been a worker. I know how to be a good worker. That's how I know how to hire good workers. Because I know what I want a worker to do, because I've been one. Because I know how to be a worker, I can be a boss. It's hard to go straight to being a boss. You've never been a worker before. That's why most people, like people who grow up in families where their family owns a business, what do you do when you grow up? Any of you grew up in a family where your mom or your dad owned the business? What did you do when you was a kid? They had you working in that business, right? They had you working in the family business. Why? So you knew how to be a worker. So you know what it means to be a worker. So when it was time for them to hand that business over to you, you knew exactly how to run it. You ain't go straight to being a boss. You had to be a worker first. And your mom or your dad said to you, son, daughter, I'm putting you in a position of being a worker, so you know how to do this. So when it's time for you to be a boss, you know how to do it the right way. People who grow up in the family business, like my son, when he grows up, he gonna work in the family business. Like when I ship books out, or I'm handling customer service issues, or I'm running events, he's gonna be working for me. He ain't got no choice. He's gonna be working for me. Why? So he knows how to be a fucking worker. So when it's time for him to be a boss, he knows how to be a boss, because he knows what a worker looks like. And that ain't negotiable. And so all of you, nothing wrong with being a worker. So I want to make sure I'm being clear. Any of you who has a job right now and you consider yourself technically a worker, I'm not talking down on you, because I've been a worker too. Okay? I'm not talking down on you. My parents are workers. I ain't talking down on them. My sister's a worker. I ain't talking down on her. But understand, bosses have a different mindset. But you should work first so you know what it means. Because you can't hire a good worker if you don't know what one looks like. And David, you can come to work on your game live. Get yourself a plane ticket. Get yourself a ticket to the event. We can split the payment up. So we got the tickets. You can split it up into 4 payments. Y'all know how they got that. You can split it up into 4 payments. We got that on the website, workonyourgame.live. You don't have to pay it all at once. Get yourself a plane ticket. You got credit card points. Use your credit card points. Borrow the money from somebody. Get yourself a hotel. You know you ain't got to pay the hotel till you come. Like you just book the hotel. They don't charge you till like the day that you check in. So the event is not for another 90 days. So you still can come. But I'm glad you said that. Thank you for saying what you said. Somebody say, whoever has the gold makes the rules. Well, here's the thing, Magnificent, is that the players got enough gold. That's the whole point. So you're right. The thing is, they got gold. The players got gold. The owners got gold. The owners might have more gold, but that doesn't mean you can tell me what to do. Like, Instagram got more gold than I got. Like, the people who own Instagram is Facebook. They have more gold than me. But if Facebook comes to me and says, Dre, don't talk about Kyrie Irving no more, we kicking you off, I'll say, well, fuck you, kick me off. All right, that ain't gonna stop my business. You ain't gonna interrupt my money. You can kick me off, but you ain't interrupting my money. So just because someone has more gold than you doesn't mean that you have to listen to everything that they say. So I get what you're saying, Magnificent, but it's actually a false dichotomy that you're presenting right there. Just because somebody got more money than you doesn't mean that they can tell you what to do and you gotta listen. Those are not the same thing. Now, if somebody got gold and you ain't got none, that's a different situation. But NBA players ain't broke, which is my point that I made earlier. They don't have to listen to the owners. They could just say, you know what, fuck y'all, we ain't listening. They could have said that last year. Yo, we ain't taking the jab. We're not wearing masks on the bench. But that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. You play in the game, no mask on. As soon as you come out the game, they pause me while I'm talking. They said you don't have a mask on while you in the game. As soon as you get subbed out of the game, you got to put a mask on and sit 5 feet away from your teammate. How stupid was that? Did y'all say that they got they got a cloth mask on while they're sitting on the bench in between their teammates, or you just took your mask off to play in the game? If the players had come together and said, "Yo, we're not doing that. We're not social distancing. We're not wearing masks," what's the owners going to do? They say, "All right, well, we ain't playing no games until y'all do it." The players say, "All right." They got enough money. They're not broke. Again, we're not talking about a bunch of broke dudes working at UPS loading the truck. These dudes are not broke. They just don't have the mindset of owners. That's why they got control. And that's why they still get control. The situation is a lesson on power. Yes, it is a lesson on power. You're right. It's a lesson on understanding your power. That's the actual thing. These dudes don't understand their power, is what they don't have. Being a boss is a mindset. Yes, you're right. Buy and sell Stevens, you're absolutely right. Let me see what else we got. Somebody else got a question or comment. Go ahead and post it. It's the same website, Aswan. It's workonyourgame.live. When you go to the site and you put in your information and get the ticket, we offer you 2 options. There's one where you can you can pay the full price up front, and there's another one where you can split it up. It's all on the same page. So any of you want to come to my live event, it's in February 3rd and 4th. It's called Working Your Game Live. It's here in Miami. If you live in South Florida, this should be a no-brainer for all of y'all. If you live in South Florida, because you ain't got to worry about a hotel or a flight. If you don't live in South Florida, it should still be a no-brainer because this is an excuse for you to come here, and you can write all this off on your taxes, by the way. So any of you don't know what I'm talking about when I say you can write this off on your taxes, let me just give you a simple truth. I'm not an accountant, so don't take this as tax advice, but this is tax advice, is that you can write this off on your taxes. When I go to conferences, every time I go to a conference, every dollar I spend from the time I leave my house to the time I come home, I write it off on my taxes as a business expense, and the government reimburses me for that when it's time for me to pay taxes the following year. This basically means if I spend $3,000 going to an event, and then my tax bill is say, let's say $6,000 the next year, I put in that expense of $3,000, and now my bill, instead of being $6,000, is $3,000 because they reimburse me for investing into my business. The government incentivizes business ownership, folks. Any of you who don't know that, the government incentivizes business ownership. So when you own a business, you pay less taxes than somebody who has a job. Why? Because the government wants business ownership. Why does the government want business ownership? Because when you own businesses, you create jobs. And you know how presidents always brag about how they create jobs and how unemployment is down and how they help the economy? They want you to start a business because every time you start a business, that's another person with a job. And if you hire people, that's another person with a job and another and another. They want you to start a business. So when you own a business and you invest in your business by buying books, when you buy courses, when you hire a coach, when you go to conferences, all of these things you can write off on your taxes, and the government literally, they essentially, let me just not say literally, they effectively pay you to do this. So when I hire, every coach I hire, every program I sign up for, every event I go to, every book that I buy, every course I sign up for, every conference that I attend, all of that stuff gets written off on my taxes. So it lowers my tax bill because the government wants me to do that. Because the better my business does, the better I can hire other people. And the government wants me to do that because it makes the president look good. Doesn't matter who it is. It could be Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton. It doesn't matter. They all want to look good by having as few unemployed people as possible. So they like people like me. They like people like you who own businesses because we help the economy. So when you buy a ticket to my event, whatever you spend, your hotel, your food, your flight, the ticket, the Uber rides, everything you spend when you come to my event, you can write it off on your taxes. They want you to do it. Okay, this is not a joke. I'm dead serious. They want you to do this. Anybody owns a business, please co-sign what I just said, please. Somebody in the comments, please co-sign what I just said so people don't think that I'm bullshitting. Because some of you don't even know this. And they don't teach you this in school. Or your college professors can't teach you this because they don't own businesses. They're workers. Your college professors can't teach you this. Robert Kiyosaki can teach you this. Grant Cardone will tell you this. Boyce Watkins will tell you this. Dame Dash will tell you this. Y'all got to get your information from the right people. They will tell you everything that I just said. They will co-sign. Anybody who's listening to me right now who owns a business, please put in the comments in no uncertain terms that what I just said is true and not bullshit. To let everybody know that this is no cap. That when you invest in your business, you get that money reimbursed to you effectively by the government. They don't actually write you a check. What they do is lower your tax bill. So if I owe 20 grand in taxes next year, and then I show the government that I spent 10 grand investing. So again, if I owe 20 grand in taxes and I show the government that I spent 10 grand investing in my business, they will effectively lower my tax bill from 20 to 10. They take that 10 off that I spent, and now I only owe 10. Again, this is not tax advice. Go to your accountant. Let your accountant co-sign everything that I just said. All right, your accountant will co-sign everything that I just said. All right, all y'all can go look this up. Again, any of you who owns a business, please co-sign what I just said so people don't know that I'm not lying. Because a lot of people don't understand this. They don't understand how business actually works. The government wants business owners, folks. They don't want employees. That's why employees pay more taxes than everybody else. Do y'all know that? Employees pay higher taxes than everybody else out there. If you are an employee and you don't own a business, you could own a business and be an employee. Like, so you can have a job and a business on the side. You can still make your money from your job, and you can still write off all your expenses from your business, even if your business didn't make money. Your business can make no money, and you will still pay less in taxes just because you own a business and you spent money on your business. That's a fact. Again, ask your accountant. Don't take my word for any of this. Ask your accountant what I said. I guarantee you they'll co-sign it. All right, let's see what else we got. You trying to make that as on? Please do. You own a business. You can write this all off on your taxes, sir. All of this can be written off on your taxes. Again, let me look. I'm looking through the comments. Make sure y'all co-sign this. All right, there you go, right there. Daberdeen, thank you. Ty, the spot guy, thank you. On top of all that, you qualify for many other write-offs. Yes, you do. Thank you. Daberdeen wrote off 14,000 last year. Daberdeen, tell people in the comments what you wrote off. Like, what did you spend 14K on that you got the write-off? All this stuff gets written off, folks, when you own a business. All y'all don't know this. All right, let's talk about this because this is important. Actually, I'm glad this got brought up because we got to talk about this. I bought a new laptop this year, a new MacBook. I'm going to write that off on my taxes. I paid for it, but the government's going to pay me for that. When you buy a laptop, your computer, the miles you spend, the miles that you drive on your car, all of this stuff you can write off on your taxes, folks. But you can only do this if you own a business. If you don't own a business, you can't do this. And again, you don't have to be a full-time business owner. You can have a full-time job working 60 hours a week. If you got a business on the side, you do Amway on the side. You sell, what's the thing with the little supplements? What's Herbalife? You do Herbalife on the side. You got a little network marketing thing on the side. You can write all that stuff off as long as you own a business. If you have a business entity that you own and you register with the state, and register in the state of Florida costs $150 a year. So I pay $150 a year to keep Work on Your Game Incorporated registered with the state of Florida. As long as my business is registered, I have an EIN, employee identification number. I can write off everything that I spend on my business. So my laptop was a business expense. I use it 99%. I use it for business. And if I go to a live event, when I buy a ticket to an event, I buy tickets to a conference, I go somewhere and I do business. I conduct business while I'm on a trip. I can go to Philly to see my parents, but if I conduct business there, if I have a business meeting while I'm in Philly, even though I went to see my parents, I can write that off as a business expense. All right, y'all should know this. Y'all should know all this. If y'all don't know that, again, this ain't on college. College can't teach you this. College teach you how to be a worker. They don't teach you how to be a boss. I just told y'all all of that. So Aberdeen said trips. You went to look at real estate. Every time I go, wrote off a Range Rover. There you go. Y'all got it right there. Daberdeen, are you coming to Work on Your Game Live? All right, you understand the game. You got to we need you at Work on Your Game Live so you can school some of these people. And they can hear it from you because they might think I'm just capping. They might think I'm just saying this because I'm trying to get them to come to Work on Your Game Live. Daberdeen, we need you at Work on Your Game Live. So first of all, you're going to meet some solid people. You will. And also, I want people to mix and mingle. I want to introduce people to each other. Because this event is not just about me talking. It's about me being the source for all of y'all to meet each other. All right, serious business people who are serious about doing business. All right, man, I hope that you actually get to make it. But this is what happens in business, folks. But I'm glad this conversation got brought up because y'all need to know that. And I'm going to talk about this before the event, before we close the tickets, which will be, we still got a lot of time. But I'll be talking about that. I'll be doing more marketing about the event and letting y'all know that all of this stuff can be written off, folks. But all of this is written off as long as you own a business. If you don't own a business, then you can't do this. Employees pay the most taxes of anyone in America. Employees pay the most taxes. You get taxed at the highest rate when you are an employee. So the question is, do I think Kyrie will go through with the checklist? Well, he don't have a choice. Yes, he'll go through with it. He don't have a choice. His only other option is to never play in the NBA again. That's his only other choice. So I think he will go through with it, but I think we all got the point. Kyrie held out as long as he could. I believe it was, who was I watching yesterday? Dr. Umar Johnson. Now, I do not agree with everything that Dr. Umar says, but some of the things he said in that video that I saw yesterday, or he did a live, was what he did. He did a live stream. And it was funny because he was talking about giving out lashes to Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley and Shaq. That was funny. But one of the things that he did say was Kyrie held out long enough that we got the point. That, yeah, I think Kyrie should go through with the checklist so he can go back to his job, because that his job is what gives him the platform to say what he wants to say. So he should keep his job. And the way he keeps his job is by going and playing basketball. Kyrie's relevance, again, I know you like using that word, but the thing that makes Kyrie known is the fact that he plays in the NBA. He's very good at it, so he should play in the NBA. This is why I thought Colin Kaepernick made a mistake. He should have kept playing in the NFL because that was his biggest platform. NFL was Colin Kaepernick's platform. He sacrificed that platform. He shouldn't have did that, because now, where's he at now? Nobody is checking for him anymore because he ain't got the platform. He should have stayed in the NFL and made his points while still playing in the NFL. And when they gave him that chance for that tryout, and then he like flipped the script for no reason, like, what are you trying to prove, dude? Like, yo, your platform is playing football. Play fucking football. Then talk shit. Don't not play football and try to talk shit. Nobody wants to hear you. You don't play football no more. That's what we know you for. So Kyrie Irving should go through with the checklist so he can get back to playing ball, because playing ball is where we see him. And you got to be seen. The reason why Shaquille O'Neal made $100 million playing in the NBA. Charles Barkley made a lot of money playing in the NBA. Why do they still work for TNT? They got money. Why do they still work for TNT? Because of the, as they pause me while I'm talking. Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal still work for TNT because of the platform that comes with being on TV every day. Being on TV every day is worth money. Is worth a lot of money because people see you every day. Like if NBC came to me right now and said, Dre, we'll give you a TV show right now, but we won't pay you, but you get to be on TV every day, would I do it? Absolutely. I'd do it right now. If NBC offered me a TV show and said, Dre, we won't pay you. You got to do it for a year, and after a year, we'll negotiate money, but you got to do the whole year for free, would you do it? Answer is absolutely yes. Why? Because people are going to see my face every day, and the amount of attention and fame and visibility that I would get just from being on TV, even if I wasn't getting paid, I will make so much money just from the visibility that I don't even need to check. That's why I keep saying the names. Charles and Shaq keep working on TV even though they already got money. Not because they're not working because they need the money. Mr. J said you don't agree with him being made to give the ADL $500,000. It wasn't his idea. It wasn't even ADL's idea. That was a PR thing, Mr. J. That's a publicity thing. That's a PR thing. So like when Kyrie came out with the apology, that apology that he posted on Instagram, he didn't write that. That shit was written by some intern that works in the PR department for the Brooklyn Nets, and they sent it to Kyrie, and he like changed up a couple words and he posted it on his Instagram. That was not written by Kyrie Irving. Those were not his words. That was all part of the compromise of what he had to do because he works at the Brooklyn Nets. When you have a job, you got to make, every once in a while, you got to play the game. He had to bend to that because he works there. Like, and I get it. Again, that's why when Dr. Umar said it and Boyce Watkins said it as well, is that in some ways he did have to bend because he does have a job. Like, you can't be completely do what you want. He can't be Kanye because Kanye ain't got a job. Kyrie has a job. So we got to keep that in mind. So we got to give him a little bit of grace because he has a job. So that was not written. Those were not Kyrie Irving's words. Those were forced words. And the $500,000. And then the ADL said they weren't going to take it. They're taking that money. So dude tried to come out and say, well, we're not going to take the money because Kyrie didn't give a full apology. Bullshit. All right, you name one charity that has ever turned down $500,000. All right, they're taking the money. All right, so that was a publicity stunt, talking about they're not taking the money. That was nothing but a publicity stunt. They're taking the money. All right, so in conclusion here, folks, I really want all y'all to think about mindset. This is what this all comes down to, everybody. It all comes down to mindset. Mindset is the foundation of all success, is the foundation of all failure. If you want to be a business owner, understand you must be a business owner in your mind first, then you become a business owner in fact. I don't care how much money you're making right now. I don't care how much money your business is making. Your business could be losing money. Do you understand that when you file your taxes, any of you who live in America, when you file your taxes, it's possible to tell the government, look, I own a business, but my business did not make money this year. We actually lost money. Because that happens in business. You can lose money for a whole year running a business. You can tell the government that your business lost money. And they understand that because it happens. I'm saying that to say this. You being an owner has nothing to do, or being a boss has nothing to do with how much money you make. It has nothing to do with how much money is in your account. It has nothing to do with how many followers you got on social media or how quote unquote relevant you are to some 16-year-olds. It has to do with your mindset. And absolutely, Dapper Dean, you're 100% correct. NBA teams with these big arenas, like I can see the Miami Heat arena. Like these teams, some of these dudes lose money every year. Their businesses lose money, but they are still bosses in their mind. It's mindset, folks. This is the most important thing. If you take one thing from this, it is mindset. I don't care what you got in your pocket. It is about your mindset. That's why you see these dudes in the NBA. Average salary in the NBA is $9 million, and many of these dudes are still workers. They make $9 million. There's some people who don't make $90,000 and have the mindsets of bosses. Dudes in the NBA make 10 times more money than them. That's not 10 times, it's 100 times more money than them, and still think like workers. Y'all get it? So this is why I want y'all to be at Work on Your Game Live. All right, this is happening February 3rd and 4th in Miami. Get your tickets at workonyourgame.live. You can pay the whole ticket up front, or you can split the payment up into 4 payments. All right, it's up to you. I just want you to be in the room. That's the most important thing, is I want you to be in the room. All this stuff gets written off on your taxes. You're not actually paying for it. The government will pay you for it. Okay? The government will pay you for everything every single dollar you spend. All right, keep track of every dollar you spend when you go on this trip. If you got to travel to Miami, you get a hotel, you get an Uber, you pay for food, the ticket. Track every single dollar you spend. If you buy a suit so you could come to this event, track that. All of that stuff get written off on your taxes. This is no cap, all facts. So Washington Wizards did it, so they lose money but still pay Beal. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they lose money by paying him. They lose money by paying the team. If they ain't making no money, they ain't making no money. This is the game. This is the game of business, folks. Just because you're in business don't mean you always making money. A lot of people think business owner means rich. It doesn't mean that. It just means you own a business. Your business could be doing bad. Some businesses do good, some businesses do bad. All right, so I talked enough here today. I hope y'all got some value out of this conversation here. And I really want everybody here to be bosses. There's no reason why everybody should not be a boss. And this is mindset, because when you have the mindset of a boss, you can't be controlled. And I don't like seeing people being controlled and being forced to do things that they don't want to do simply because they don't have the mentality to understand that you have power of choice. And that's what happened with the COVID jab. I hated seeing people getting forced to take the jab when they didn't want to. And I know that happened to a bunch of y'all. I hate seeing right now they doing it with the transgender thing, and that they're going to teach this to your kids and make you call people, them, they. There's no such thing as fucking them, they. All right, there's man and there's woman, period. Ain't no them, they. There's no he, there's no it. All right, you're a man or you're a woman. All right, that's where I'm at. All right, and ain't nobody going to cancel me for that. Nobody's going to force me to say something different. That's what it is. All right, that's the next thing. That's the next thing that's coming. My connection again for the 8th time while I was talking about that transgender thing. That's the next thing they're coming with, the transgender thing. And now they trying to use this Jewish thing is nothing but a smokescreen. This ain't about Jew. If you're Jewish, this ain't about you. You know it ain't about you. Don't nobody give a damn about that documentary. Nobody was talking about that documentary for the last 4 years. It's been out. Nobody gives a damn what that documentary says. That's a lame excuse. This is an excuse to attack Kyrie Irving. They ain't got shit to do with no damn documentary. Fuck that documentary. And it ain't about the documentary. And shout out to the dude who made it, but it ain't about them. But everybody knows it ain't about that. It's about trying to control you and policing thought. That's the next thing. They're going to tell you what you're allowed to think and tell you that you're wrong for not thinking the right thing. That's what they did to Kyrie Irving, and they're using him as an example to all the rest of us. That if you don't listen, if we could do it to him, and he makes $30 million a year, and he's an NBA player, imagine what we're going to do to you. And you make $60 grand a year, and you work a regular job. We can do it to him. We'll do it to you. That's what this is about. That's why people need to defend Kyrie Irving, and that's why these NBA players show what they're really about, which is nothing. And these TV dudes show what they're really about, which is nothing, in the light of what's happening right now. So that's all I got to say about this. I'm gonna put this video on YouTube. I'm gonna put it on my IG too, but I'll put it on YouTube so you can put it on 2x speed. You want to watch it back, or you want to send it to somebody. It'll be on YouTube in like 2 or 3 days. That's that, everybody. I appreciate y'all time. Appreciate your attention. Get your ticket to my event, Work on Your Game Live, where we're gonna talk about mindset, strategy, systems, and execution for your business, making it all happen. The link is in my bio on Instagram. It's also in my story, and it's right there. Get your ticket. Work on Your Game Live. I'll see y'all all in February. We out of here. Work on your game.